Hey, this is Steve Good on the Coin Chat with
Yuri Cataldo, as always.
Welcome back, cutting through the noise and misinformation in cryptocurrency to tell you what really matters.
That's right. Only what matters.
Only what matters, because lots of things matter in life, but we're only going to tell you what really matters. So
true.
Today, Yuri, I think you wanted to ask some questions because I was away last week in Singapore on a little bit of a mission, but I went to a private fundraising, not fundraising, what am I saying? A private investors and ICO gathering, a networking event, which was really cool. And I got invited because of our show, and because of being an advisor out in crypto. And they just wanted to have some personalities that were there to help them look at the projects and talk to people. So it was really cool. So
perfect.
I know you wanted to ask some questions, and I'm sure many people would like to know, what is it like to go to one of these private events where there's about 60 people in a room, including crypto whales?
Exactly. And I like how you just asked your own question that I was going to ask.
No, I didn't. No, I really didn't. I'm not going to ask you anything else.
No, I know that. It was just kind of funny. I was like, that was my first question. So
what's your first question?
Welcome back from Singapore. I would like to know, so what is it like to be in a networking event with crypto whales? Also, I'm glad they invited you for your personality, because you do have a good personality.
Well, whales just take up a lot more space. No.
Physically and
no, to be honest,
emotionally.
Let me tell you how you could spot a whale. This is a really good one. So the better dressed the person was, the less money they probably had.
Oh, like the tech philosophy on that one.
Yeah, because the thing I noticed was the most, let's say, mild-mannered and low-key they were, the less they were trying to draw attention, the worse they dressed. Now, I didn't really think that would be true in Asia so much, the way we see in Silicon Valley or in London, but I mean, I tell you what, it was certainly applicable there too, because I know I met a variety of people. I met some Chinese family offices. I met a couple of different guys who would be considered whales, having gotten in early. They were, you asked them questions. They said, I got in 2010 and mined or invested and then sold and then held USD Tether for a while, blah, blah, blah. And so you get these stories. So you get a sense as to who the people were that had some success stories and some, what they've invested in as well, which were also interesting, indicators of their success. But that was pretty interesting. So there was a real range of people, including people that showed up to the event supposed to be, savvy investors who know about crypto. And I mean, I met one guy and talking to him for half an hour, teaching him what crypto is, at which point I handed him my card and said, here, just come to our show and you can learn the rest, because I'd like to go mingle with everybody. But it was really hilarious because there were a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. It wasn't just crypto, investors. There were also organizers. There were other social media people there. So it was a really interesting range of people just there to network and to really connect on a very close personal level.
That's great. So how is this networking event different from, let's say, like a fundraising event? What are some, I know you've been to both. What are some things?
So fundraising, first of all, to do fundraising, there's something legal that you have to have what's called a broker-dealer license, which is a regulatory license. And if you don't have that, then you shouldn't be doing fundraising at all. And also in fundraising, you'll typically do an honest ask, and you'll say, look, I'm looking to raise $5 million. I have this kind of whatever. This is our plans. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. And that was definitely not being done at this event for a reason, because we were there to network, presenting different projects to give people a sense, so there were ICOs there presenting, or our STOs, presenting what they were doing. There was a range of different types of projects, which was really interesting to listen to, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And and equally, there was a range of different types of people in the audience. There were about 80 people in the audience that ranged from investors to, different types of media people, other types of fundraising, not fundraising, what do you call it? Event organizer types, social media people, some other social influencers, consultancies that are obviously services. So the bulk of the people there were actually, VCs and family offices, either crypto VC, venture capital, or some of them were normal venture capital who hadn't branched into it. Actually, there were some exchanges there as well. So It was a
Oh,
really
wow.
weird kind of, yeah, because some of the exchanges have like their own venture capital funds where they look to the future of ICO and STO projects to work out who's who and what's what. And
Right.
sometimes they might redirect them later to their own fund to say, hey, we're interested in investing in you, not exchange listing you. So
Hmm.
that was pretty interesting. They're, kind of an interesting range of people.
Yeah, yeah. So what were some, because you said that there were a number of different presentations that happened. What were some interesting projects that caught your eye?
Uh, well, there were a couple that were really interesting that I'll shout out to them as well. So there was Bit Curate.
Hmm.
So a shout out to William. I'll let
Sure.
you know. I'll let him know about this. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
William's got this social sentiment AI project that he and his company is doing. He's the founder and
Hmm.
CEO. Really cool. I really liked what they were doing. Early stage, not ICO, not STO, just building software.
Hmm.
And I like that. And it's just focused on the crypto sentiment, scanning multiple channels, using AI, trying to get a level of accuracy in the data to give people good indications of when they should buy or sell certain coins for trading. So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Then there was another one that I thought was really interesting called Mobi, which was, again, a software project, not an ICO necessarily.
Hmm.
They may end up becoming an ICO, but for right now they weren't. And this was Bill. So a shout out to Bill. And what was really cool about this is they're building a peer-to-peer email system.
Hmm.
So if you think about email today, email is
Hmm.
all about client server. And because
Right.
it's client server, you have mail size limitations. So what they're
Yes.
doing is they're using a combination of blockchain plus peer-to-peer technology to enable you to send any file size to anybody, person to person,
Okay. Oh,
using
that's
technology like BitTorrent, using technology like Napster, that kind of thing of the peer-to-peer mentality. That's what they've
yeah.
built into an email platform, and it's really cool. And they've got it working, and they showed us a demo, and it's neat because it's not just email, but you can have like different skins, so you can effectively they could so make it look like a Telegram or a WhatsApp if they wanted to, and
Hmm.
so you could have groups of conversations and see all the conversation and dialogue going together,
Yeah.
and you could equally see all the files you've received in a separate folder like a Dropbox.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat because I'm not a big
Yeah.
email fan, as you know. I try to stick to the Telegram nowadays, but
Right.
seeing something that might be disruptive to WhatsApp and Telegram and email and be peer to peer was pretty neat because I
Yeah.
could just send you, a 2 terabyte file if I want to, and you'll eventually receive it, and there won't be any, rejections of files. So that was pretty neat. I liked that.
Yeah. 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 So you mentioned both of these projects, not like pre-ICO, not thinking about that. Was that how most of the projects were,
No,
or were there some that were like a
most of them were actually token model,
okay?
token economies of some form. Most of it was utility tokens. Some of them were security tokens,
Okay.
which was interesting to see kind of the shift and how much of it's become security token. And I would
Hmm.
say, I think there were people thinking about it, but not many people really doing it yet. And even, dare I say, some that were advertising, utility tokens, but it was clearly a security and they just weren't aware of it.
Okay.
And I did have the opportunity to talk to one project who asked my opinion, and I said, you do realize that this token is tied to an asset, which makes it a security token. So
Yeah.
you might want to rethink your model. And they were like, could you explain more? So I ended up sitting with one of the projects for about probably a half an hour, just kind of talking through like what to think about and how to structure the project correctly, and not getting into all the details, but just giving them a flavor of what they don't want to do because I didn't want them breaking the law by accident. So that was
Right.
pretty interesting because I
Right.
still think there's a lot of people who just don't know what a security is or what an asset is, or that if you have a utility token and you say it's tied to, my equity or my cash, that it's just not that it's just not a security, but it becomes one. And it was
Right.
really interesting to see how many people just didn't understand that at all.
Right. Interesting. Well, I
Yeah,
know we've discussed security tokens on this show before.
we
So
have.
other than, let's say, you noticing more security tokens, is there any other kind of trends? I know this was a smaller event, but are there kind of trends or just commonalities that you noticed that were happening that you haven't seen at previous events?
Um, no, same old
No.
rubbish. lots of crap.
Yeah.
Oh well, so actually, no, there is one trend actually this is actually pretty cool. So what I did see more of, and I'm hearing more of, is a term called reverse ICO.
Okay, what's that?
Okay, so that is basically companies that already exist that decide they want to move backwards into the blockchain. So they're going to reverse into the blockchain via some form of ICO, raising some funds so that they can actually launch a blockchain-based project. So rather than using their own internal profits to do it, they're just launching subsidiaries and backing into blockchain by way of the ICO.
Okay.
And so that was a term that was being thrown around quite a bit, actually. So I hadn't quite heard that term used that much. So now I'm fully aware that a reverse ICO is really existing companies backing into blockchain from existing core businesses that are probably based on database and centralized, and then moving to decentralized and blockchain. So that's really interesting. And there were, I think, 2 of them that I saw out of 11 projects that were doing that.
Okay.
So that was cool. That was interesting. And it's obviously a hot topic. And what's more interesting is that I could not justify why either of those projects was actually using blockchain at all. But just because they were existing businesses, they got more attention because they were moving their core business from database to blockchain for storing transaction. And because they were doing that, they got attention, even though there was no real justification for why blockchain was needed, at least not when they presented it. I didn't see it. I was like, you don't need a blockchain for this. You've got an app, you've got a database, you've got users, so carry on. And it was joining the hype and that's a little bit worrying for me. It was like companies joining the hype just to raise money, which I'm not sure that's really the reason I want to invest in a project, is because they're an existing company. They already have money. Now they want my money to build something that may or may not necessarily need blockchain. But anyway, so a trend and some commentary that goes with it.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's good. I've also noticed, not this event, other places where a lot of existing companies are, you're right, backing into blockchain. And you're right, basically they already have a database, and that's just what they're just using the word blockchain to build up on the buzz right now. So it's interesting that that's also popping up a lot of places.
And I'd like to see a good use case for why they need to switch to blockchain as well. Sure, there's probably reasons for doing it if you're talking about consensus, reward, reputation building, and participation of users, and giving them tokens for participation. All that's great, although it's one side of the token. but sorry, bad pun. Anyway, but oh yeah, sorry. But there has to be more to it than just giving out free money. That's not enough for me, because that just creates abundance, and abundance causes a coin to drop in value because there's too many coins in the market by giving them away for free. So obviously you need to have people participating that are also participating and doing things with the coin or buying them. So what I didn't see was that side of it with the existing businesses. So there wasn't enough for me there yet, but I think that's going to evolve too.
Yeah. So I'm curious on why you decided to go to this event. So I know you've been to many meetups and events. So yeah, is that like, so how do you, for our listeners and watchers, what's your criteria in going to an event? How do you kind of gauge beforehand if you think it'll be worthwhile?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for the general public, most people tend to go to these large scale 2, 3, 4, 5,000 person events.
Yeah.
Don't find me at those for one reason, well, several reasons. One is it's just too many people that how am I going to connect with the people I want to connect with? The higher end investors oftentimes aren't going to those events for the same reason. It's just too many people. It's hard to network and connect with the people you want to connect with. There's no intimacy. On the flip side, these large events are great for one thing, which is you get some really good speakers. And of course, if I'm invited as a speaker to these events, I will go. But generally with these really big events, it's just really hard to get connected, but it's great for getting lots and lots of, juicy information and great presentations. So there's the plus and minus. I like to go to the smaller, intimate events for the very reason that I like to connect with people. I like the opportunity to spend time with people, to put my phone in my pocket, turn the thing off, turn the ringer off, and be present, be authentic, and just be there with people and talk to them and forget about crypto and just talk about how did you end up in crypto? What did you do before? And, when did you move to Singapore, or how long you've lived in here or there? And actually that's great, because it's same, when there's a room of 80 people or 100 people or even 200 people, you get to talk to several people several times, because people mingle around and you end up in different discussions with different people. And then you can go and have dinner with a group of people from that spin out and go, hey, let's go for a dinner, let's go for a drink. And I like that kind of close, intimate environment. But of course, those events are harder to find. There's not as many of them around.
Right.
As you know, I've spent a lot of time networking to find them, just so I have the opportunity. And this particular event said, I've been speaking to them for a while, and they said, why don't you come out? I said, all right, cool. So I did.
Perfect.
And it was great fun. It was really enjoyable, and I had fun. And because of just some other connections I have in the industry, some of the guys I know from an exchange over in New York called Bitmart introduced me to a consultancy in crypto in Singapore, all Chinese people connecting me to each other. And I went there and had a 2-hour meeting with these people from Jenga. So a little shout out to Iris and to Poppy. Really lovely ladies, really nice ladies, running a business. And it was really nice meeting and connecting with other people just in general in crypto as a result. So, and a thank you to Kaiman from Bitmart for setting that up. So, we're just shouting out to everyone today.
We are, I know. Look at you meeting lots of people.
Shout out City. Yeah, it was good to get away from the mic and actually be out and, in the public talking to people.
Yeah, I bet. So it sounds like you had a fantastic time there. Are there any other kind of like takeaways or things I forgot to ask?
Well, I mean, I think the thing the takeaway for me is, here's the interesting takeaway for me with presentations and going out and presenting, projects. And we've talked about this before, but preparedness is one thing, but don't go showing up without any product.
Oh.
Because there were a lot of people still doing this whole, I don't have an MVP, a minimum viable product. I don't have a prototype. I don't have a proof of concept. I just have an idea and a presentation.
Sure.
And the distinction was when you looked at BitCurate and Moby, they had products, working products. They worked, they were real. They have use cases for their purpose. And other projects, I can't say the same. And that was really disappointing for me, was being on a stage and, the variety of presentation around, do you need blockchain or not? Why did they get into this in the first place? Why are they transforming their business to this? And then where's your product? And show me your token model. And just, there were a range of things that just didn't make sense. But the one thing that really came across to me strongly was, if you want to go out and mingle and meet people, don't do it until you have something to show. Don't tell, show, because people want to see real product. And a lot of people didn't have that. And so who do you think the crowd is going to spend their time talking to? Are the ones where they can see it, touch it, play with it, try it out, ask to do a demo, ask if they can try using it at home and give feedback, because you've engaged people, and that whole engagement of it is so important. So that was a massive takeaway for me, was realizing if you're going to go out to an event like this, have a product to show.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Awesome.
So, yeah. So how was your week? So, and I'm sorry for my silence last week. So how was your week, Yuri? Just anything crypto happened for you?
No. Unfortunately, it was a busy week in other areas, but not in the crypto space. On.
And you didn't try spending any Bitcoin while I was away?
No, not so much. I don't think anyone wants to take it right now. Everyone's still worried about, is it going to crash? What's going to happen with it? I get asked a few of those kind of questions. Yeah. But nothing it was kind of a quiet week on my side.
Well, I think we're skirting around the whole Bitcoin fork and the Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin ABC.
We are.
Discussion, because that's
that's kind of
a discussion for another day. We'll probably have a whole hash war discussion.
We are, exactly.
Cool.
Because it's been dominating the news a lot, and we're like, we'll let it hash itself out.
Tokenized expressions, eh?
Oh yes.
Well, thank you for all the questions, Yuri. I actually like when you ask me tons of questions. It's kind of cool, because then I feel like I have a purpose.
Oh, well, I'm happy to give you purpose.
Thanks everybody for listening in today to the Coin Chats. You can always follow us on t.me/the Coin Chat, where we are always there on Telegram to answer questions and engage and help us find scams or great projects or things to talk about. We're always there. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Alexa, where you can listen to us by telling Alexa to give us a daily update. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching To the Moon, because we know we were going to be back on the moon someday soon. Till next time.